Valentino Rossi. He's in the pits and leading the way. Cal Crutchlow, 2:01.751 for the Coventry rider, now of course based in the Isle of Man.
Yeah, this is interesting from Andrea Dovizioso, because you can see there he's out on that hard front Michelin tyre and the hard rear tyre as well. Because of these temperatures going up, his hand might be forced to use that hard option rear tyre. Yesterday in the cooler conditions he seemed to have discarded that as a viable race option. It looked like he was probably going to go with the medium, but these gloriously sunny conditions here at Silverstone, and with the temperature only going to increase, we're still, what, 4.25 hours away from the start of the race, where you would feel it's going to be a little bit warmer. And Andrea Dovizioso then might have to have had his hand forced into running that hard rear tyre.
Here he is down at Brooklands. 3 wins this season, including the win in Austria, second in the world.
And a lot of physical energy in the race this afternoon. Andrea Dovizioso, he said yesterday, riding over those bumps and managing the bike, bucking and weaving underneath you, is very, very physical. The Ducati, not the most agile motorcycle out there, and when you've got those fast change of direction through Maggots and Beckett's, it does become a pretty physical, torturous exercise. Jorge Lorenzo is saying that he's never really felt pressure on his forearms like he has around this track riding the Ducati. And last year, all of Ducati's top riders, Andrea Iannone, Dovizioso and Danilo Petrucci, all complained of severe arm pump. In fact, Iannone blamed that for his crash at Luffield, which put him out of podium contention. So that's going to be another interesting dynamic in the race a little bit later on, certainly for the Ducati riders.
Rossi fasted through those first 3 sectors as he was in qualifying, but it's that 4th sector he's having problems in, isn't it?
He said that they can't get the rear tyre hooked up in that section. You ask a lot of, well, you're accelerating it with a lot of lean angle, certainly coming through Luffield, and then you're coming through Woodcote at a fair rate of knots, still carrying quite a lot of lean angle. It's a unique final corner in many respects. There's not a lot of finish lines where you come over still with carrying a little bit of lean angle as you come out of the Woodcote corner. And Valentino Rossi said, yeah, they were struggling. Had a big moment there on the front end going into Stowe corner.
That's where his teammate crashed, wasn't it, right at the start of the session for Johan Zarco, race winner here a couple of years ago in the Moto2 class, of course coming together with Sam Lowes last year. Cost him any World Championship points. He was docked a 32nd penalty. He still went on to retain that world title. Decent lap coming in from last year's winner, Maverick Vinales. He likes Silverstone. He won here also in the Moto3 class. Down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands for the Spanish rider.
That's interesting, because Vinales at the moment is out on a soft rear tyre. Now, whether he's just having to keep a medium or hard for the race later on. Of course, he will need 2, one for his race bike and one for his spare bike. But Vinales was saying yesterday, in terms of his tyre choice for the rear, a bit of a dilemma, a bit of a conundrum. He'll base his decision. This is what he said yesterday. It might change. His hand might be forced by the increase in temperature, but he said he'll make his decision based purely on what's going to give him less spin in the third of the race. Now, if he goes for the soft, he was saying yesterday there's a big difference between the soft and the hard. The soft will give you a massive advantage in the first 5 or 6 laps. But how will it hold up in that final third? That's going to be the dilemma for Maverick Vinales. So it'd be interesting. He's had a good look at that soft option rear tyre this morning, but with that increase in temperature, will he have to go a step or maybe 2 steps up to the medium or hard this afternoon? Dylan?
I really enjoyed Michelin's description that they gave us yesterday afternoon, where they said that they actually feel that the rubber used on the rear tyres doesn't offer a huge difference in, so we say, grip feeling, but with this movement over the bumps, how the harder one just holds its shape a little bit better whilst it's skipping across it. But then, of course, if you do have a slightly maybe they don't get quite as much movement as the bigger guys, and as you say, Matt, just make more use of it at the start.
Danny Bertrand is out there at the moment with a hard and medium combination. It's hard though for this man, Jorge Lorenzo. Out-qualified his Ducati teammate, Andrea Dovizioso, will start in the middle of that second row of the grid. Don't rule him out, pushing hard towards a podium finish. He's a 3-times winner here. This is him down at Brooklands. They've cut the grass beautifully here, haven't they? It just makes the angle of the corners just look absolutely superb.
The infield section looks like they've taken it from Wembley Stadium, doesn't it? Yeah, glorious.
Yeah.
Here's Lorenzo then powering through Woodcote corner. PB lap coming in from the Spanish rider. He does go up inside the top 10, the 9th with a 2:02.472. Marc Marquez, you can see there, Marquez spent the whole of FP4 yesterday running that hard front, hard rear tyre. He seemed to have settled on that as a race choice as far back as yesterday afternoon. And he could be potentially knocking Cal Crutchlow off top spot in this session. It's Crutchlow's 2:01.751 with just under 3.5 minutes remaining that still holds top spot.
Here he is into Luffield. He's the second of these two bikes. Then into Woodcut Corner. Just unleash the power for this right-hander past those towering grandstands. It's an iconic venue for Grand Prix racing. Marquez crosses the line in third place at 2:01.803. So Crutchlow, Iannone Marquez, Viñales, Rossi, Zarco, Dovizioso, Rins, Lorenzo and Petrucci. Other British riders, Sam Lowes in 19th, Bradley Smith running in 20th, and Scott Redding in 13th place. And no laps recorded yet for Jonas Folgo. Had a very big crash right at the
very agile and manoeuvrable motorcycle. They might be lacking a bit of grunt, but he came in this weekend, Aleix Espargaro, really fancying his chance of fighting for the top 6, so a big blow for him.
1 minute to go here in the sunshine at Silverstone. This is the morning warm-up. Round 12 of the MotoGP World Championship. What a championship it's turning out to be. Round 12 of 18. And it's a British rider, Cal Crutchlow, that leads the way. And he will start the front row of the race. The 20 lap race. 40 laps, that would tire them out a bit round here, wouldn't it? 20 lap race. The front row.
I think it's safe to say if it's a 40 lap race, Aleix Espargaro won't be starting. Well, he might start it, he won't be finishing it.
Not be finishing it, will
There is Aleix, actually. He is still circulating then. This is going to be his 4th lap of the session, and he's improving. A 2:02.769. These guys are tough. Some of the toughest human beings you'll ever wish to meet. They've got pain thresholds that just don't compute with mere mortals like ourselves, but he is in a lot of trouble, and it's going to be a physically demanding race. His brother, younger brother Pol Espargaro, has been one of the outstanding riders of this weekend so far, Nick.
Certainly has. Really putting that KTM through its paces is Pol Espargaro. Up into 10th place. Of course, they've been in the top 10. The last 2 races are with Pol Espargaro in Brno, and then Mika Kallio in the previous round in Austria. But a big crash yesterday for Pol Espargaro. And you're talking about his brother being tough. Exactly the same story, isn't it, for the younger brother, Pol. Yeah, KTM are making big progress. Sadly, it's tough going still for Bradley Smith. 2 podium finishes here in the past, 125 with Moto2, but at the moment running in 22nd place, and he is fighting for his MotoGP future with KTM.
Andre Iannone's on a charge here. He's tucked in behind Maverick Viñales as they come through Woodcote Corner now. And Andre Iannone, we've seen a Suzuki at top of session, top of race here at Silverstone. And Andre Iannone takes the checkered flag and he goes top with a 2:01.622. Viñales, the best he can hope for in this session, is 4th. There are good laps coming in as well throughout the field. Marc Marquez is on a charge. Aleix Espargaro is also on a really hot lap. Valentino Rossi's had a good run through the second sector, so Andre Iannone stay at the top of the timesheets. Maybe a short-lived one. Will track Marquez through the final corner.
There is Marquez, could take over at the front. No, he's not.
Just missed out.
It's close. 2:01.631. Iannone 2:01.622. That's how the race is going to be as well. Here is Aleix Espargaro.
Well, he's having no trouble getting the power to the ground this morning, Andre Iannone, with that 2:01.622. Here is Aleix Espargaro. This should be firing him up into the top 10 quite comfortably. Over the line he comes. Yes, 7th. A 2:02.221. So that will be a good confidence and morale boost for the Spanish rider.
Valentino Rossi just had a lap time cut off for exceeding the track limit at turn 3. Dylan.
Yeah, guys, just to come in very quickly, I've just had news that nothing seriously wrong with Jonas Folgo. Just a bit wonky in the head, shall we say. They're going to keep him there under observation for another half hour, but has escaped any major injuries, which is some fantastic news.
That is fantastic news, because if you saw the crash, as Matt did quite brilliantly, picked it out, the bike landing on the top of the air fence.
Yeah, he's been
really would have feared the worst, wouldn't you?
Wonky in the head, he's been wonky in the belly as well this weekend. Tough British Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Look at that run by Marquez. The hard front, hard rear. He did the whole of FP4 yesterday using that tyre combination. I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever, with the temperature only going to increase later on, that Marc Marquez will be nailed on to come to the grid with the hard front, hard rear. He feels that that's going to give him the best chance of a victory in this 20-lap race. But Andre Iannone, who's got an awful lot of work to do coming from 15th on the grid, but can he be the spanner in the works a little bit later on in the 20-lapper?
Well, there are the two men that we're really talking about, because in front of him is the man that rode the Suzuki last year, Maverick Vinales, who won the race. And here is Andre Iannone, fastest in the morning warm-up on the Suzuki. I don't think we'd really penciled Suzuki into those result sheets at the end of a 20 lap.
It's going to be interesting.
Who knows?
Interesting to see how they move forward over the next few weeks. Suzuki, they've got a private test in Misano straight after the race. Iannone saying yesterday there's a truckload of parts coming over from Japan for that, and then they're testing as well in Aragon at the end of September, where there is yet more new parts in the pipeline as well. So you can't say that Suzuki are not trying their best to make Andre Iannone more competitive and comfortable on that GSX-RR, and that will definitely be a bit of a lift for his confidence, which has been on the floor at times this year, topping that warm-up session. And he had a good long look at Maverick Vinales as well, didn't he? He spent quite a long time behind the Spanish rider.
Cal Crutchlow, third in qualifying, third in the morning warm-up.
He's been inside that top three pretty much every single session, has he, Crutchlow? He's had a really, really outstanding weekend so far. I think Cal, he's well up for this. He wants to give those British fans a home victory for the first time here at Silverstone.
I think it's 35 years we waited for a British rider to win a Premier Class Grand Prix, and now, is there a chance a British rider can win Premier Class at the British Grand Prix? Donington Park, Silverstone. It has never been done. Obviously, the last time was when the race was held, the TT races, in the Isle of Man.
Yeah, I do get the feeling that Cal, not being in championship contention, he's not really that fussed about being the top independent team rider. I think he's about to revert into win it or bin it mode this afternoon, Crutchlow.